Well, welcome to our show. This is Kevin Menn with Outside the Games. I have an exciting guest with us today. This is Jamar Howard. He is a trainer for Big 12 Performance. It is a training program for student athletes, help them to get better at their game, training their body right. So he is a player that once played for University of Cincinnati, did play professional football for about 7 years. We're glad to have Jamar Howard with us. Jamar, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's nice to have you. Hey, we get into a little bit of how, with our program, we talk a little bit about performance in a sense of how you are, what makes you, but we start out with family. Family in itself means a lot to a lot of different people. People actually define it differently sometimes. But, you know, I wanted to get your definition of family and how and why would you come up with that definition, please?
Family to me is loyalty, loving one another, having each other back no matter what, always being there for your family. A lot of kids that I have, I feel like they family. I'm going to always be there for them. I'm going to always, make sure they're good. You know what I'm saying? Because they put so much time and effort with me with training and stuff like that. So that's what I really feel like. Just loyalty, love, and just being appreciative of who you have, because you never know. One day they might be here, and the next day they might be gone. So.
It's funny you say that because we're dealing with a pandemic right now with COVID-19 and how that's had it's an unprecedented time. It's had a lot of effect. There's lives being lost, and there's been a lot of sickness in that sense. But it's changed our behavior. But let's get back to family. You had both parents, mom and dad, but you had a stepdad. Go into a little bit about your parents and how they made Jamar Howard. How did they make you the person that you are today?
It was I ain't gonna lie, it was tough love for me. Growing up where I grew up at, you couldn't be soft. You couldn't be like the kid that was you just had to be tough at sometimes because with the obstacles and stuff that you faced outside was kind of crazy. So my stepdad was really, really hard on me, but I thank him today to making me the man I am today. My real dad wasn't there a bunch because of certain situations, but I forgive him for that. And that's my dog no matter what. But my mom, she was really, really the toughest though, because I was a mama's boy. And sometimes, she won't want you to be so soft, but she was really tough on me and just showed me the way, like, you got to be a man. And my stepdad stepped in and he did that part for me.
Yeah, when you talk about your family, because there are certain characteristics about them that, because again, you're being provided shelter, food, a roof over your head. Those are just the basic necessities, but those are important necessities, especially in your development, especially school. How did your parents, what kind of qualities did they have to make you really, persistent in trying to, do school, try to be the best you could be at an early age? And again, with growth, right? There's always growth that comes into play.
Well, for me, it was kind of late. I was a late bloomer. I didn't start playing sports until I was 12. Just because I'm not gonna lie, I was one of them kids in class that, was just a class clown. My mom never let me play sports, but everybody where I'm from was always like, Miss Darlene, he the most athletic kid out here. You gotta let him play sports. And I think one day I snuck out the house just to play basketball on a Saturday morning, and my dad was looking for me. I call my stepdad my dad. So my dad was looking for me, and he had seen me playing basketball with older, like, grown men. And he called my mama and told my mom to come and watch me. And that next week, she put me in basketball. Because they kept tripping, like, why you keep sneaking out the house? I'm like, I want to play basketball. So, yeah.
No, that's the story. That's a gem of a story right there.
Yeah.
Playing sports and being a student athlete, let's touch on that. With outside the games, we discuss the player and the person, and really we delve into more of the academic side of it, because academics are everything. I mean, that's how you're able to go to the next level. Explain what it was for that transformation from deciding to play basketball, and then you're going in your senior year to play football. Is that correct? High school and college. Explain how that journey was.
It was kind of weird, to be honest. I was like always the fastest and the tallest. But Coach Rodriguez, he was at West Virginia. Coach Mason was at Minnesota at the time, and they had came to offer some other kids on the football team. And I just had transferred to that high school. It's called Withrow International High School. And it's like the last week of school. So, like the last week of school, kind of lenient. You kind of do whatever you want. But we had a carnival, and we was playing football or whatever. And I was running past some of the best players on the team. And they offered me a scholarship not knowing that I didn't even play football. And my high school football coach was like, he's a basketball player. And they was like, no, we offer him a scholarship. So my high school coach, Doc Gamble, he's at Arkansas Pine Bluff now. He's the head coach there. And he just told me, he was like, man, you need to switch your mindset on basketball and focus on football. I'm like, no. And then he just came and brought me into the office and talked to me for about an hour and was just like, hey, you 6'4" and you fast. Like, you might as well just transition. And I took into consideration, I told my mom, she didn't like the idea at first, but that summer I had went to camp and I kept getting all these offers and all these kids like DBs that was ranked like top 5 in the country, I was killing them. So my coach, that's when it woke up for me like, hey, you need to play football.
Yeah, wow.
That was the transition.
Yeah, no, that's huge. So that's kind of like that was the game changer in a sense for you to say, you know what, basketball may not be it for me, but football has, and especially you're getting looks from college coaches giving you that opportunity to go ahead and on the next level. Explain to me what your recruiting was like and then how that worked out to go to University of Cincinnati.
Well, that's why I was telling you my story get kind of crazy. So in high school, I always as a kid from elementary to high school, I kind of was like always not doing what I was supposed to do in class. I had offers from Ohio State, every school basically. Once my name got out there, I had offers from everywhere. I committed to Minnesota with Coach Glenn Mason at the time because they was pretty good at the time in the Big 10. And then he left. And when he left, man, I got into this crazy thing with the clearinghouse where they didn't clear some of my grades because I took a couple of night schools to make up for my classes. And Coach D'Antonio, who was at Michigan State, he was at Cincinnati too. He was like, hey, I'm going to try to get you in school. So I went to summer camp with the Bearcats. Our first game was against Pittsburgh University. I ended up not being qualified at clearinghouse. So I had to go home. I had to go to junior college for a year. And then when I went to junior college, Chris Matthews that played with the Seahawks, it was me and him. He was the number 1 receiver. I was number 2 receiver in the country. So I could have went to Oregon, wherever I wanted to, but my mom, she got MS. So when Coach Kelly got the job, the year I went to junior college, they called me and was like, hey, we want to offer you to come back to school. Kerry Combs, he was with the Tennessee Titans this year. Now he's back at Ohio State. He's a DB coach there, or probably I think the defensive coordinator. I think back. He called me and was like, "Man, 12, we want to offer you a scholarship to come back home." And it was no brainer, man. My mom had MS. I was going back home. I'm a mama's boy, so I don't care how old I am. I'm going where my mom at. So yeah, it was either Cincinnati, Memphis, or Florida State.
Interesting about your mom, because when that happened, when you found out she had MS, that was kind of the determining factor of really changing a little bit of your course, right? And your decision on what you were going to do.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to be close to home, close to my family. I just had to be by my mom because at that time, I went to junior college in California, and that's my first time being away from home by myself. It turn you into a man quick because sometimes your mom can't send you money. Sometimes your mom can't send you rent money or give you money to eat. You got to figure it out on your own. So I think that was the best thing for me was leaving to grow up a little bit.
And after the junior college in California, take us through what the next journey was for you. Because again, I find it interesting too, you're making relationships with certain coaches, Coach Rodriguez, Coach D'Antonio, some of these coaches that play, because what we've always said to student athletes is that you never burn the bridge of any coach or any other player. It's always networking and building those relationships. So tell me the next part of your journey after junior college in California.
Yeah, so I went back to Cincinnati. I played a little bit, then I got hurt. Butch Jones got there. Butch Jones was at Central Missouri. Not Central Missouri, but Central Michigan. After Kelly went to Cincinnati, it's like they followed each other. And then he left from with the after he left from Cincinnati, he went to Tennessee. But when he got there, I'm just being honest, I just didn't like the change, so I transferred. It was just a lot of things that, bumping heads with certain coaches. Like, you know what I'm saying? We just went 12-0, but now I understand, being a coach and, being a new coach, you gotta put your aspect on the game and how you coach onto a new team. And some new players not gonna like that. And I think I was one of them players that didn't like that. But I understand now, being a coach now, that they gonna weed the people out that, that they really don't want, or that don't want to buy into the system. And that's basically what it was. I didn't want to buy into the system. I'm like, we just went 12-0. Like, I'm not buying into the system. But that's the one thing I would always tell kids: just listen to your coaches and understand that what they're doing is right. And sometimes they might test you. Like, I test all my kids. Sometimes they might test you, and that's probably the best thing for you.
As a student athlete, though, there's always regrets, right? There's always something there that you wish you could have done differently.
Yeah, fact.
Or tell me, was that kind of something that you felt you could have done differently? Is accept the coaching? You went 12-0, work with the coaches, help it. But again, we're talking about the level of well, let's be honest, maturity to some extent, right? Part of it is like not wanting to work with the coach, or I feel I'm this, and so take me through that. I mean, was that really a huge experience?
I think out of my whole life, I think that was the worst part of my life. Like, but it was the best growing point of my life, because I even though I was at a D1 school, I couldn't go D1 AA because it was my senior year. You got to go 2 down, so I had to go D2. So, I'm looking at all these D2 schools like, man, where I'm gonna go. So at the time, it's Abilene Christian. They was D2 at the time. That's when they had Johnny Knox and all the people that played for the Bengals. West Texas was real good. They always had people go to the NFL. But that year, I was transferring. Central Missouri had the D2 Heisman, a quarterback. He threw for like 6,500 yards. They had 2 receivers go for 1,000, a tight end go for 1,000, and they had a running back rush for 1,000 and receive for 1,000. So I'm like, yo, it's a no-brainer. I'm going there. And it's so crazy is all them guys was leaving, and I came in and I was focused. I was like in the best shape of my life. I think that was my senior year was the best part of football of my life. You know what I'm saying? I went for 1,300. I was an All-American. I was just focused. I was balling.
Well, that's huge. And so then there's that point of like your senior year, things are working out for you. And then is it always a thing of like, hey, the next level, professional level in the NFL?
Well, I kind of knew it was my. I kind of knew I was gonna get a shot at the next level. Every practice, almost, it was an NFL scout there looking at me. I mean, I had a game. I knew it was serious. I had a game where I had 9 catches, 230 yards, and the next week, everybody was there. Like, and I was learning about football that it don't matter what school you go to, they gonna find you. So I kind of knew, but I still was humble about it, because I to myself, this is my last shot. My son, 1 year old. I had a son too at the time. He was 1 year old at the time, my senior year. So I knew it was either my make year or break year. So I just had the ball. And then when that opportunity presented itself, then I just, took it.
Now tell me this though, because that's another piece to add to this layer here of you, is that you had a son. Because when you look at being a father now, that presents itself a new responsibility, right? So not only are you just taking care of Jamar Howard, being diligent in your training, trying to keep, be ready for the next level, man, you're changing diapers. Let's be clear. And you're burping and you're doing all this kind of stuff with your son and you're interacting. How important was that to be in there because let's take it back even prior to that. Stepfather, dad wasn't really there, but that's still your dog. And your mom was mama's boy. So how important was it for you to be a father and have an impact in your son's life?
Oh, it's very important for me, just because my son, my twin. I mean, he loved 12. Everybody going Big 12, he loved 12. And as y'all know, a lot of people see him on Instagram. He probably gonna be 20 times better than me. He very, very freakish, a very, very freakish athlete. His mom played basketball, so it was kind of in his genes. But I know for me, man, my son, my everything. I was just like how I was with my mom. I think he the same way. with me. So with me and his mom. So just being there for my son and just supporting him always and just showing him that daddy loved me no matter what was the key. But being so young and doing it, it was kind of new. It was, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of stressed me out because I still felt like I was a kid and I was raising a kid. So it was kind of like, dang. So I guess as I got older, I got 20 times better at it. But my first year was kind of like, I kind of don't know. It was kind of like I had to ask a lot of questions. And, you know, my son's mother, she's a little older than me, so she kind of was more mature. And plus, she's a woman. You know, they mature faster than us, and they kind of in that stage of you know, want to do careers earlier, wanting to be the wife type earlier. I was still in that. I'm still going to college parties. I'm only 21 years old. I'm still young, you know. So my
So
son made me grow up a lot.
yeah, and I mean, so I mean, why I bring that up is because it's a different responsibility in being a parent, but then you're also concentrating on the fact of like, I'm looking to get to the next level. So you're really, I'm gonna tell you, no lie, and it's something you've probably always had when it came to school as a student, and how you were trying to prioritize and time management. So obviously, tell me what it was like. Let's go back to your fact of being a student. How important was the academics for you, Jamar? Let's be clear about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm the first person that you know, male figure to go to college in my family. So I think it was more important for me that way to set the switch the cycle up because I know a lot of my family members on my dad's side, my real dad's side, that after high school is over with. Like it ain't no, it's either the streets or they getting a job. And then my mom's side, a lot of my family members went to college. Um, Probably not like none of my uncles, but all the women in my family was like in college and sororities and stuff like that. So I think it was important for me to go to college. And plus, like I know you was saying, like, was there people putting pressure and stuff like that on me in my hood and stuff like that? To be honest, nah, because they seen how good I was. Like people would pay me to stay in the house. Like, or something about to go down tonight, hey, you need to stay in the house. I'm gonna give you, here you go, $20, $30, just stay in the house. You know what I'm saying? People would go make me go play basketball instead of staying on the block or something like that. Because they respected my mama, they respected my dad, but they also knew my real dad. And my real dad ain't play. So they always respected him. Like, hey, he Tyrone Weber's son. Like, hey, make sure he ain't doing none of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I really never had no pressure. And I always knew I was different. I was always tall. I couldn't be on the block stand and the police drive past me and do all that stuff. But was I bad? I was bad. Like as a regular kid, like, you know what I'm saying, doing little stuff like that. But I woke up and finally seen like I got a shot to get a full ride scholarship and get my mom out of the situation. So I mean I might as well take it. But really no pressure though. A lot of people just helped me.
If we're talking about the people that helped you, do you look at them now and are thankful that they did that for you?
Whoa, amazingly
Take me through
thankful.
that.
And it's so crazy that the people that help me, I'm doing what they do. I'm helping others. And they look at me like, man, that's so crazy that you're doing the same thing we used to do for you. I was like, that's crazy. Yeah, I got older coaches that used to pick me up, make sure I eat, you know what I'm saying, do all this stuff. And now I do the same thing for the kids now. It's crazy. You know, I got friends who, you know, still in the streets, but they always bow to me like, bro, I would never let you do what I do. You too talented. So I always thankful for that. Even when I go home and I just go see some of my friends that still like in the streets and stuff like that, they always be like, "Hey, I'm proud of you," you know. So
Yeah, I mean, because there's two options, right? The streets
yeah,
or being prominent in what you're trying to do. I mean, the success of going to school, getting to play college football, and then the NFL. So let's go to the NFL. What was that journey like when it came down to training and draft and whatever that was?
yeah.
Take me through what that experience was like.
So after I had an amazing year, my senior year, my agent Richard Katz, who's in Cincinnati at the time. We were trying to find out facilities to go train. I picked the D1 Peyton Manning in Nashville. I trained there with Kurt Hester. He's the strength and conditioning coach at Louisiana Tech now. I trained there, and I got picked up by the New York Giants. Spent a little time there, and then I got released. And then I went to, which was so crazy, I played an arena with Houston Lillard. Yeah, that's how I met Houston. That's how I met all them, like Livingston, from that's with Houston, all them with Lillard. I played with all them, but I was a young buck though. I was a young buck. But they always, like, Houston always tell me, he was like, you used to always talk about how good you was. And we knew you was good though, but you always talk about it. You ain't have to, because we knew you was good. But yeah, I met Houston, and then but they picked. The thing is, I wasn't even gonna go, but they was about to get ready for the playoffs or whatever, and they was really really good. Houston really really good. Houston was like 6'1", 6'2". He'd be in the NFL for sure. His arm is incredible, So it just comes with circumstances and stuff like that. But he doing basically doing the same thing as me. He just started before me. But I played with them to the playoffs. We played in the championship, and we lost to Sioux Falls. Then I went to Cleveland Gladiators Arena football team, and then I balled there. And then I went to the CFL, Edmonton Eskimos for a year. And then after there, they got new coaches. That's when I came to Portland Thunder, and that's when I balled. And I liked it here. I liked it in Portland. I loved it in Portland, so I just stayed.
And it's funny because you met up with Houston again, saw
Mm-hmm.
him again, and it's like I've seen him literally throw a football.
Man, he
It's
cold.
ridiculous. He can still throw. I mean,
I tell people this all the time. He the Black Drew Brees. His accuracy, his arm is crazy. But it's just I think it's just his height. And people think because he's Damian Lillard's brother that maybe he might not be. But when they see him, they be like, oh, he really live. Like he really good.
So the professional time that you spent, there was a lot of learning about yourself too, right? That was part of the maturity factor, even after college, getting a stint with the NFL, moving on to more professional CFL and some other opportunities. How did that make Jamar the person wanting to now train Big 12 performance, train other young student athletes? I'm sure you thought to it like, hey, I have an experience that I've been through. I want to share it with these young student athletes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just picked up along the way of my journey of life. I just picked on so much knowledge. It would just be stupid for me not to give it back. I done had some amazing coaches, especially in college, from Mark D'Antonio to Charlie Monar at Idaho, Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, and I got Kurt Hester at Louis. I got so many coaches that just taught me about so much stuff. It was like Coach Narduzzi, the head coach at Pittsburgh. It was like, it's stupid for me not to get his knowledge out to these kids, So I just felt like that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't so sure how I was going to do it, but when I came to Portland, I kind of got the opportunity to train some kids, and now them kids still with me today, you know what I'm saying? And it just grew even faster. So I'm just thankful for the opportunity to just do something that I love, and I'm very, very passionate about it too as well.
As a coach and trainer, I always ask this question because I find it very fascinating with coaches, that there's a scenario that plays its part there here on this, is the fact that all these coaches that you had experience with, have you found yourself actually, because they're teaching you things, you're like a sponge. When you're training, you go, oh my gosh, that's what Brian Kelly would say. Oh my gosh, that's Mark D'Antonio would say, or Rich Rodriguez.
I coach like my high school coach, which is not good, but like when I training is different. See, training is more. I'm the big homie. I'm the big bro. So I don't have to yell. But when I'm coaching for my high school at Evergreen, I coach like my high school coach, and my high school coach is very, very, very strict. Which I'm learning to, be more, coach on the field, but off the field, love them up. So always you want to love them up after they do something wrong. Because my high school coach was the type of coach that'll make a joke, everybody laugh, and then he would tell everybody to shut up. But everybody laughing though, but he's the only one not laughing. So it was kind of weird for me. And it's so crazy that I picked up them habits because just a little small story. Robert Williams, he was a DB at our school. He committed to West Virginia. And our head coach at my high school used to take the attendance before every game. And if he didn't say here, you didn't play. So we had a porta potty outside of our locker room, and he got stuck in a porta potty. And we played against a garbage team. We beat him probably like 70-0. But he got stuck in a porta potty, and everybody on the team was like, Coach Doc, hey, Robert in a porta potty stuck. It won't open. And he said, Robert Williams, and he said, here. He was like, nah, I don't see him. He ain't playing. I was like, whoa. But it's so crazy because I pick up them habits too. It's like, I don't know why, man. It's just like, he was like probably the best coach I ever had when it comes to learning the game. And like showing me like, you got to be disciplined and you got to have structure in order to run a good football program. And I come from Ohio, man. So football is big, you know?
Football is big. And, going back to coaches and how they play such an integral part in your development and mentorship and everything. I can remember, you may not know this about me. I was coached by Donald Dixon. That's Dennis Dixon's uncle. And by Richard Washington, who actually played for Benson, then went on to UCLA, played for John Wooden, and played for the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA. There were some things that those two coaches were just instrumental in my development in playing basketball and doing my thing and improving and actually being able to compete with other athletes, other starred athletes. But it really back to the coaching thing is that these coaches play such a huge part, don't they?
Yeah. Like I mean, I can go back to my first basketball coach, Tim Johnson. And even it's crazy because both of my two first coaches was named Tim. Funny name. He was real short. We call him No Neck Tim, and then it was Tim Johnson. But it's so crazy that my first basketball coach coached my mom. He coached my dad. He coached the kids that was a little bit older than me, and all them kids was getting scholarships because they was going to him. And he still coached to this day. And he's probably like 67, but he still coached to today. It's like his fire. It's like why he lived. And then my other coach, Tim Johnson, who picked me up, he more like my uncle, more like a bigger brother because he's not that old. But I mean, he was the person that really like used to really like pick me up and treat me like I was a brother. Treat me like my mom when she was in the hospital, or my dad was going through certain situations and stuff like that. He was always there. So, you know, you got Ozzie Davis. I got so many coaches I can just give thanks to, but yeah, it was kind of so I needed that help. Sometimes these kids need it ain't just their parents; they need other help outside to make sure they stay on the straight path. And I had a lot of people that keep me on the straight path, literally.
I mean, I liken it to extension of family. That's really what it is. It's an
Yeah.
extension of what your family is and who they are. Looking at that is, let's talk a little bit about COVID-19 and how that's really had an effect on your training and wanting to train as much as possible, but it's been a tough time. What things are you doing to try to be able to deal with COVID-19 and the government's orders and all that kind of stuff that's happening right now?
Yeah. I mean, I still kind of train outside with my college and my pro guys, a little bit of high school guys, but I just try to keep it to a minimum and try to keep it to a small piece of people because I don't want, people to, say certain stuff and like, oh, he got too many kids and stuff like that. But it's tough though because it's just like the kids that's in the house, they wanna work out. It's it's getting close to football season. And a lot of people don't know, is it going to be football and all this? So a lot of parents hit me up and just ask a lot of questions and stuff like that. Man, it's just tough. It's stressful because I miss the interaction with the kids. I miss the interaction with the parents. 7-on-7 got cut short. And our older team was having a amazing season. It was balling. And it was good to just try to get them more film so that we can send to colleges and stuff like that. So I just feel like, man, just not even just this area. I think like the world, man. It just hurt us, really.
Do you learn a lot about a student athlete during this time, though? If you think about it, the training that they're having to do on their own, self-driven. I mean, seeing, we were able to see The Last Dance, Michael Jordan's documentary, and really seeing what drove him. Leadership, there's a price to it, and looking at what these student athletes are doing, really, there is going to be a time when the government or the governor actually changes and say, hey, the stay-at-home order is lifted, time to hit the ground running. You are going to find out what student athlete, especially, you coaching at Evergreen, who was doing the work and who wasn't, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't train none of my high school kids just because, I mean, we can't. I wish I could, but we can't. But I seen them, they working. They all send me little stuff that they're doing and stuff like that, which is really, really good. But I mean, it hurt, man. We had 50. We was having like 50 to 60 kids in the weight room every day in the morning at Evergreen, and we looking to change the program. I know for a fact we're gonna change the program. I'm not really worried about it, but it's definitely gonna be a change with Evergreen football. But it's tough, man. It's real tough because a lot of them just want to work out, and some parents not letting them go outside. So sometimes they can't even really do nothing but just be in the house and try to do push-ups and sit-ups and try to do something around the house because some parents not letting them out. But some parents like get outside, go do something. So it's just tough. It's just a tough situation.
Yeah, if you're joining us right now, this is Jamar Howard. He's once was a student athlete, of course, going playing at the University of Cincinnati, and then getting a chance to play in professional league in the NFL, getting that chance to play. But now he's doing Big 12 performance, and it's a training program that he does with the student athletes. But also, let's include, he is a coach as well over at Evergreen High School. So, Jamar, there's also social distancing and masks and things of that sort where, when we find out that the stay-at-home orders are lifted at some point, there's also, no crowds. I mean, that social gatherings will be at risk in a sense of not being able to gather together. I mean, how does that affect the game?
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. I mean, a lot of times people play for it that had the fans, the excitement of the game. Just it's gonna feel like practice, like what I'm playing for. Like it's really just like I'm playing to get film, and that's it. It's like my mom can't come to the game, my family can't come support me. Some people look for that support, no matter if it's a friend, family, or just a teacher. Some people look for that support. So I think that's gonna be tough. I don't think it's gonna last. I think they're gonna uplift it like, man, look, man, But that's just my personal opinion. I mean, right now for training, I got masks for all the kids. I got white ones, and then I got red ones for all the masks. And I get them out, I have white ones, but they was gone quick. But I don't really think they're gonna do that, man. That's gonna be tough.
Well, let's be clear. Texas or Florida, Georgia, a lot of these places are now in phase 2, phase 3, where it's now here, we're just at phase 1. We haven't hit phase 2, phase 3. So you're finding a lot of states are changing. I mean, and some 7-on-7 organizations are going, hey, it's time to have showcases up in Orlando or Texas. But that's kind of scary because we just haven't got there yet. Is that a scary feeling?
Yeah, I would say just people should be patient. I feel like as much as I want to play 7-on-7, I know my kids want to play 7-on-7, all the athletes we have on the team. I think it's just safe to say like 7-on-7 should just be done, and everybody should be getting ready for high school football. You know what I'm saying? To all the juniors that's gonna be seniors, I know it's tough, but I mean, for you guys, you have to really ball out this year. You have to get everything you got to do on film, put it on film this year, so college coaches can have it. And I mean, we're gonna do our best power to try to get our kids to college too as well. So I think that's what separate us apart. We're not trying to do the small school. We're trying to let these college coaches see them early, so they can get a chance to get to these bigger schools once they get senior year, junior year and stuff like that. But yeah, it's tough. I would say 7-on-7 should be done.
How important
for this year anyway?
Yeah, how important is it a coach right now though? Is it you are wanting to preach academics? So take me through your experience as academics was for you, because and then really what do you preach to your student athletes in regards to academics?
Without the education, you can't really go far. I mean, without a diploma, without the education, without the right GPA, you can't get the scholarship you want. You know what I'm saying? So it's important. But I mean, for the most part, at Evergreen, Coach Swain got that. he don't play no games, and we just enforce it. We just all enforce it. That's why I love our coaching staff, because it's like we all click, and he said, and then we just enforce it. And then for the people that I train, I mean, I'm on them always. Like my college kids, a lot of them had finals this last week. I was making sure they wasn't coming to training. I'm like, hey, do your work. I had a couple of kids that was doing their work and they weren't coming to training, but then when they got it done, they was there. So it's very important that you get your education.
Jamar, what do you have to say to the class of 2020, man? They haven't been able to have any normalcy when it comes to senior year. And you remember what it was to be a senior. I remember what it was to be a senior, cap and gown, you know, the ceremony, prom, some of these things. Man, take me through what you feel for the class of 2020 right now.
Yeah, it's tough. It ain't gonna do nothing but make you tougher. Yeah, I mean, now you know what the real world like. It can be here and be gone tomorrow. So you know, just it's time to mature and just know what you getting yourself into the real world. You know, it's heartbreaking though that they won't be able to experience the things that we experienced as a senior and be able to do prom and graduate, have a family there. You know, it's just tough. It's just tough.
I mean, we're in this Zoom virtual world.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, there's been talk about ceremonies, you know, hey, showing up to the ceremony, but everybody's masked. You know, just different behavior.
I think the crazy thing for me was the drive-through graduations. Like, what? This don't even seem real. It's just crazy. It's like so much crazy stuff going on. It's just like people really doing a drive-through birthdays, or they just give you something to just drive away. I'm like, man, it's just crazy. So it's just tough. I would say for all the seniors, man, just enjoy the time that you got right now. I mean, it's kind of heartbreaking that you can't do what you really want to do for your senior year. Even for some of the teachers, man, just some of the teachers that should get the appreciation that they should get, you know. And it's always a blessing and always like a good feeling to see one of your kids that you had since their freshman year and then they senior year walk across that aisle and see them mature into that person that you helped them become. So it's just tough. It's tough.
Well, tell our viewers a little bit about Big 12 Performance. Tell them about where they can find you, how they can reach you. Tell a little bit about that if you can for us.
All right. Yeah, Big 12 Performance is a sports performance company that I own, training athletes from 6 all the way to pro level. Mainly receivers, because that's what I play, but I also do skill and agility work with anybody. I have offensive linemen, you name it, basketball guys too as well. Yeah, man, I'm just trying to get you to be the best. You know, I'm from a place where a lot of kids are more advanced, and you know, a 9-year-old can do everything a 15-year-old can do.
How can they contact you? How can they contact you?
On Instagram at Big 12 Performance. Yeah, just hit me on there. I'll always be open on to respond back or whatever like that.
Sounds good. Well, I tell you, it's been a pleasure to have Jamar Howard on Outside the Games. I tell you, about the student and the athlete, and really they're both, you can't have one without the other. And the player in person and the development in that. Wow, your story was amazing, Jamar. Thank you so much for sharing with us. We appreciate having you on.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man.
Well, this has been Kevin Min with Outside the Games, Jamar Howard with Big 12 Performance. We thank you for watching.